Hi, I'm Kelsey Kloboski. I'm a senior digital accessibility specialist here at Accessible Web and wanted to talk a bit today about finding a third-party accessibility partner and really focusing on identifying when an accessibility partner is working well with you and is going to be supporting your accessibility journey, and maybe some signs that it's not working well and it's time to maybe look for another option. Today we'll be talking about first defining success in digital accessibility, knowing when you need help, choosing an accessibility partner, knowing when to break up with an accessibility partner that's not working, and some tips on having those tricky breakup conversations. So first, of course, I want to talk about defining success in digital accessibility because it's hard to know whether an accessibility partner is a good partner for you if you don't know where you're going or what you're aiming for. So the key goal for digital accessibility is that people with disabilities can use your content, product, or application with ease. We can get into a lot of details about legal requirements, technical requirements, all of these different pieces, but at the end of the day, the goal of all of those things is in support of this core principle. People with disabilities can use the content, product, or application with ease. And this looks like a lot of different things. What this looks like is employees can work without barriers, customers can sign up, purchase, and pay without barriers, and users can read, interact, and engage without barriers, just to name a few. But really, when we're talking about digital accessibility, we want to be working with someone who's going to be supporting us towards that end goal. We also know that organizations face roadblocks in that goal of finding success with digital accessibility. Two major roadblocks that we see are lack of knowledge and lack of resources. Lack of knowledge can look like gaps in formal education. We definitely talk a lot with developers and web designers who have college degrees in these fields and may not have gotten much of an education about digital accessibility as part of their degree program or as part of their coding boot camps or other formal education they've received in these fields. So we know this is a definite gap that we see often in teams and individuals. There also might be a lack of knowledge just with inexperience of working in digital accessibility or inexperience in understanding or being in community with people with disabilities who are using your products. So these are definitely areas where we see some roadblocks to achieving success in digital accessibility. And lack of resources, this can also look like a lot of different things, like lack of resources in time, funding, or buy-in. And ideally, a strong accessibility partner is going to be able to support you with these roadblocks and helping you overcoming them in order to reach your digital accessibility goals. So knowing when you need help. So definitely some key factors of when you need help are if you don't have in-house digital accessibility expertise, or if your in-house accessibility expertise needs support. And I use that phrase digital accessibility expertise a bit broadly. I know that can look different in different organizations. Some places you may have a single digital accessibility expert. You may have a team of experts, or you may have that knowledge spread out across all members of your team. And definitely something we see is that, particularly if you have a single person or a small team of accessibility experts, is it's hard to impossible to know everything there is to know about every facet of digital accessibility. Because when we're talking about digital accessibility as a whole, we're not just thinking about website content, but also platforms and mobile applications, digital documents, digital media. So there's many facets of digital accessibility, and it's difficult to have expertise in each of those areas. So there may be specific areas of digital accessibility where your in-house expertise may need support with things like workload, knowledge domains, or skill sets. And again, with that focus of getting past those roadblocks to achieving your goals in digital accessibility. So when choosing an accessibility partner, I think there's some really key questions to ask as part of that process. So the first one I would recommend asking is, what is your process for evaluating digital accessibility? And other than evaluation, what kinds of support do you offer? Because we know that there are many roadblocks, not just limited to understanding digital accessibility issues, but potentially supporting you with buy-in, supporting you with training. So some additional questions you can ask are, how can you help me understand my current digital accessibility? Understand and prioritize what needs to be changed, build accessibility knowledge on my team, manage my accessibility improvements over time, and increase buy-in. So, knowing it's time to break up, or maybe knowing when, if you're at the start of exploring joining with an accessibility partner, when someone's not going to be a good fit, I have a few red flags and green flags that I wanted to talk about today. So, my first red flag is an accessibility partner who never talks about people with disabilities, as opposed to a green flag is a partner who addresses human impact and not just technical requirements. If an accessibility partner is only ever talking to you about WCAG or only ever talking to you about legal requirements and is never bringing or talking about people into the equation and the impacts on people and the viewpoints of the people that are going to be working with your content, working with your product or application, that's definitely a big red flag. Another red flag is a partner who relies solely or primarily on automated scanning tools, as opposed to a green flag, which is a partner who includes manual evaluation and facilitates accessibility testing with people with disabilities. We know that automated scanning tools, while they can be a valuable help and a valuable support, they can't get you all the way to a solid, accessible experience. And so a partner that's primarily or only relying on automated tools is likely not going to be giving you the full picture. Another red flag is a partner who promises quick fixes or, quote, single line of code solutions, as opposed to a green flag of a partner who sets realistic expectations. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more with my last red and green flags. My next red flag is a partner who isn't teaching you about digital accessibility, is not helping to understand the reasons for accessibility improvements or the underlying causes behind it, or helping to support your team in trying to prevent the similar issues being worked in future. As opposed to a green flag is a partner who helps you learn about digital accessibility and comes to their accessibility support as a teaching and learning opportunity. And my final red flag is a partner who guarantees perfect digital accessibility. There's a lot of reasons why this isn't a realistic goal. One of which being that technology is constantly changing. So something that is accessible currently, there may be changes in the future that cause that accessibility to degrade, whether in the technology or in the requirements themselves. And the second really key one that I want to point out is that users with disabilities are a variety of people with all sorts of spectrums of needs in order to access content. So even digital content that meets relevant accessibility requirements, there are going to be users who encounter that content and have some needs that are not being met. So having a process in place, and that's my green flag, is having a partner who supports digital accessibility processes and helps set you up for long-term maintenance and improvement of accessibility and how to respond when users encounter barriers that you didn't predict or didn't realize might come up. These are all things that need to be in place to support your overall digital accessibility rather than as a one and done project. Now you're perfect forever. That's not a realistic goal. So you really need to work with a partner who's going to recognize and support you in the long term. So having those breakup conversations, I know it's never a pleasant conversation when breaking off a partnership. But some things that I would really suggest to keep in mind are to lead with your specific goals and be keeping those front of mind in both your thought process, in your decision making, and in your conversations. To communicate what's missing. If you've had a great working relationship, I think it's perfectly valid to bring up what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you're needed? Is this something that your accessibility partner can provide or can work on with you? And finally, remember that the wrong partner slows down your accessibility efforts. So if there's something that's not working, if there's something that's missing, it's worth it to look for a partner who's going to support you in all the areas that you need in order to create a better accessible experience and to support your goals in a more efficient and timely manner. So how Accessible WED can help? Well, we definitely would love to be your green flag accessibility partner in achieving your digital accessibility goals. We offer several categories of support as part of that. First is our RAMP web accessibility software. This is a tool that offers automated tools for scanning for issues, as well as for managing and understanding your accessibility workload. It's a facet of what we offer, and we use it as a supportive tool. And I believe there's already a discount code or discount information in the chat if you're interested in a trial of that tool. We also offer accessibility audits, which is a comprehensive evaluation of web and mobile applications to identify compliance gaps. And this is a manual review that focuses on human testing of your content and accessibility. Consulting and training, which is expert guidance and training sessions on implementing and maintaining accessibility standards. So that can be webinar style, like we're doing now, or our Accessible Web Academy with self-paced training courses. And we also prepare accessibility conformance reports, typically in the VPAT or Voluntary Product Accessibility Template format. And this provides a clear, accurate, and detailed snapshot of your product's current accessibility based on our manual evaluation completed in the accessibility audit. So that brings us to the end of my prepared remarks. So we're ready for questions and comments. And I'm also curious if anyone has any red flags or green flags that they would add to our list on accessibility partners.